All right, so we're back and diving into something I know is on everyone's mind.
Definitely.
It's the impact of Trump's reelection on the UK.
Big stuff.
Yeah, and we're going off this BBC article by Chris Mason,
Oh, yeah.
their political editor,
Right.
published as the results were coming in.
Wow.
And one thing that really stuck out
Yeah.
was this phrase, wild unpredictability.
Oh, yeah. That about sums it up.
Right. Like the whole world's thinking, what's he going to do next?
And nowhere more than London, I bet.
You think so?
Oh, they've been trying to prep. But like Mason says, how do you even prep for that?
Yeah, it's like a hurricane, but you don't know where it's going to hit.
Exactly. And then it's not just Trump himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's him in the UK. Him and Starmer.
Right, right.
Can you imagine? Starmer, the former human rights lawyer, all careful.
Yeah.
And Trump, well, the businessman turned politician.
A clash of styles, for sure.
Massive. It's hard to picture two more different guys having to work together.
So, are we headed for disaster? Like a diplomatic train wreck?
Well, it's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
Right.
But hold on, before we go there, there's some interesting stuff that happened before the election.
Oh, really? Like what?
Back in September, Starmer and Lammy, the foreign secretary,
Yeah.
they had dinner with Trump at Trump Tower.
At Trump Tower.
Yeah, apparently Trump moved things around on his schedule for them.
Hmm.
Sources say that was seen as a good sign, like he's open to talking, at least.
Yeah, I guess you can't just ignore the UK, right?
Exactly. And then there was the incident right after the election.
Oh, right, yeah.
When Trump survived that assassination attempt.
Yeah.
Starmer called him pretty early on, which is being put down to the British Embassy in Washington, Ambassador Pierce.
So they're keeping lines open despite everything.
Seems like it. And Lammy specifically, he's been really active.
Yeah, you mentioned that, the diplomacy and all.
He's been to the U.S. a bunch,
Hmm.
trying to build those relationships with Trump in his circle. But here's the thing. He's been walking this tightrope.
How so?
He's saying publicly that Trump is often misunderstood.
Really?
Yeah, and even called J.D. Vance, the VP-elect, my friend.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Lammy the one who called Trump like a tyrant in a toupee or something?
That's the one. So this is quite a change, right?
Yeah, what do you make of that? Is he just trying to avoid conflict, or is there more to it?
Well, think about it. Lammy's no fool. He knows the U.S. is crucial for the U.K., especially now.
I see what you mean.
So this softer approach, maybe it's strategy, thinking long term.
Playing the long game, even with the personality clash.
Exactly. But of course, it can't all be smooth sailing, right?
There's got to be some friction somewhere.
There was that whole thing about labor interfering in the election.
Oh, yeah, with that staffer's social media post.
That's it. Caused a real stir. Even a former diplomat said something like, this shows Starmer doesn't care about the U.K. relationship.
Ouch. So much for diplomacy, I guess.
Well, it's not that simple. Mason used a good phrase. He said the relationship will be bumpy, noisy, and transactional.
Transactional. What's that even mean? Just doing deals, no real partnership.
Kinda, yeah. Like they'll cooperate, but only where it benefits both sides. Trade, security, that sort of thing.
So no more special relationship.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's changing, becoming more about what each side gets out of it.
More pragmatic.
Exactly. And honestly, that might be the only way it works with Trump back in charge.
Okay, starting to get the picture. But how's the UK actually preparing for this?
Well, they're trying to get on board with some of Trump's known positions, like defense spending, America's focus on Asia.
Trying to find common ground.
Exactly. Head off the conflict before it starts. Lammy's been saying Europe needs to spend more on defense, which is right out of Trump's playbook.
Smart move.
And they're playing up this shared concern about China. Lammy even talked about the Chinese Navy growing, how America's attention is shifting that way.
Makes sense. Acknowledge the reality.
Yeah, build some trust. But then there's Ukraine. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, with Republicans and Democrats so divided on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was this quote from a Whitehall source. They said, "We want America to support Kyiv as much as it can, but the differences between Republicans and Democrats shouldn't be exaggerated."
Sounds like they're downplaying the potential problems there.
Maybe, but you got to figure there's worry in London about what a second Trump term means for Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, some European capitals are straight up worried Ukraine will get left out to dry if the U.S. backs off.
I can see why they'd think that.
And then there's all the other stuff like, will he bring back those tariffs,
Oh, right. Those are a big deal.
And his, how do I put it, his communication style?
Yeah, the tweets, right. Keep everyone on edge.
Exactly. One late night tweet could blow everything up.
So, with all that, how's the UK getting ready? They must be doing something.
They're going all out, not just trying to agree with Trump where they can, but reaching out to people from his first term.
Oh, interesting.
Like Lammy had a meeting with Mike Pompeo, the old Secretary of State.
So, thinking ahead, who might be powerful if Trump gets a second term?
Exactly, playing the long game. They've also been talking to Robert O'Brien, the national security guy, and Elbridge Colby. Some think he might be the next national security advisor.
Wow, covering all their bases.
Why to hedge those bets, right? But the big question is, will it be enough?
Yeah, with all this unpredictability, who knows?
No one knows. That's the point, right? We're talking about the UK and the US here.
Two of the biggest players?
Exactly. And even they are struggling to figure out what's going to happen.
Shows you how much uncertainty there is everywhere.
Big time. This UK view is just one piece, though, right?
Yeah. What about the bigger picture? How does this change global politics, alliances, all that?
Now, that's the real question. We saw how Trump's America First thing strained those old alliances.
Oh, yeah, the trade wars, pulling out of agreements, all that.
Shook things up for sure.
Had everyone wondering what was coming next.
Exactly. And you got to wonder, will we see more of that now?
Second time around could be even more intense.
Maybe. And if the U.S. pulls back even more from the world stage, who fills that gap? Maybe China.
That's a scary thought, China calling the shots.
It's a possibility. And what about the special relationship itself? Can it survive another 4 years of America First?
Good question. Will it even be that special anymore?
It'll exist in some form, but it might be very different. More like what we were talking about, transactional.
Right. What's in it for me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
UK's going to have to be more practical, focus on where their interests line up with Trump's, which they're already trying to do.
Defense spending, China, those things.
Right. But it'll take some serious diplomacy, compromise, and probably a thick skin with Trump style.
Sounds like they're walking a tightrope, keeping the U.S. happy but looking out for themselves, too.
That's a good way to put it. But they're not powerless, remember?
Right. They bring something to the table.
They're in NATO. They've got good intel, plus the history and all that with the U.S.
And not just the U.S. calling all the shots.
No. But things have definitely shifted. The UK's got to adapt if they want this partnership to mean anything under Trump.
Makes you think.
And this is what's happening everywhere. These old alliances are being tested.
The whole world's changing.
Countries got to figure out where they stand. It's a whole new game.
This deep dive has really shown how complex it all is. I bet our listeners are feeling that too.
I hope so, because understanding this stuff is key to dealing with what's coming next, not just for the UK and the US, but for everyone.
Well put. I think it's time for a break. Let everyone process all this.
Good idea.
We'll be back soon to wrap things up and maybe throw out some more thoughts on where all this is heading.
Deep Dive is a must-subscribe channel for anyone who wants to stay informed and engaged with the world around them. With its comprehensive coverage, in-depth analysis, and engaging content, Deep Dive is sure to enrich your knowledge and broaden your horizons. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Deep Dive today and start your journey to becoming a more informed and engaged individual.
All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about how Trump's second term might shake things up for the UK.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. The unpredictability, the diplomacy, that whole special relationship becoming more of a deal-based thing.
Right, like we were saying, more transactional.
Exactly. But it's not just about them, is it?
No, it affects everyone. The whole world's watching.
Like Chris Mason wrote, they all want to know what this means for global power, for working together, for everything.
It's that what's he going to do next? Feeling all over again.
Totally. And one of the big worries is Europe, you know?
Yeah, Trump and NATO, not exactly the best combo.
He's always preferred those one-on-one deals.
America first. Right.
Exactly. But that could really change things in Europe.
How so?
It might make those nationalist groups stronger, the ones who want to go it alone.
That's not good.
Or it could weaken the European Union.
A divided Europe, that's definitely not good for anyone.
And then you've got climate change, which, well, Trump doesn't have the best record there.
Yeah, pulling out of the Paris Agreement, that was a big deal.
Huge setback. What if he keeps doing stuff like that?
Ignoring the problem won't make it go away.
Nope. So the UK, they're facing all this, plus trying to figure out their own place in the world.
A lot on their plate.
Big time. They got to balance their own needs with this whole global cooperation thing.
Not easy.
Definitely a delicate balance. Think they can do it?
Hard to say. But maybe they can use their relationship with Trump, even if it's different now.
Maybe nudge him in the right direction.
Worth a shot, right? Special relationship or not.
Exactly. But in the end, the UK has to adapt, find their own way in this new world.
That's a good point for our listeners. The world's changing. Got to keep up.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot. The UK's got some tough choices ahead because of this election.
No doubt about it.
And it all comes back to that uncertainty. No one knows what's next.
Makes it exciting, but kind of scary too, right?
Definitely both. But it means we got to stay informed, talk about this stuff, be ready for anything.
Well said. So to everyone listening, keep learning, keep asking questions, figure out what you think.
This is Global Politics in Action. We're all part of it.
We've given you the UK perspective. Now go deeper, see what else is out there.
Lots to discover.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.